My brothers and sisters, in this world, Allah has created us all very differently in the sense that the mind, the face, the understanding, the capacity, the ability, the strength, and all these things differ from person to person. Although we are human, we are part of the same species. One of the tests of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is for us to come onto the earth and navigate the life while we are on earth, worshipping Allah Almighty and going through the challenges that we will face in our lives. One of the major challenges is dealing with different personalities. So from amongst us, there are those who are very temperamental. How are you going to deal with them? Or are you one of them? To deal with them is not easy, but that's part of your test. You cannot get excited and upset and as angry as they are to the degree that you create a war, knowing that I'm on earth. This person has a different temperament. You have to not just walk on eggshells, but it is depending on who the person is to you. You will have to adjust and they will have to adjust. You will have to talk about it, help them, but at the same time, it is part of your test. Similarly, some people are cool and calm and so relaxed that it becomes an irritation because they cannot get anything done. That's the temperament. Allah made them in order for you to adjust, for them to adjust, for the two of you to come together in a way that perhaps will be beneficial to both. Your Jannah is how positively you dealt with it, and that person's Jannah will be how they try to adjust, to improve themselves so that primarily they do not miss what Allah has asked them to do upon the time that Allah asked them to do it. For example, the prayer. And at the same time, they then fulfill the rights of everyone else in a proper manner. From amongst us, there are those who are wealthy. From among the wealthy, there are some who are arrogant, some who are humble. All of that is part of your test and my test. Two things. Where do you fit in if you do as a wealthy person? On this side or that side, there might even be a third side. Some people sometimes arrogant, sometimes not arrogant. That's part of the test. Or are you one of those who has to deal with such a person? See, so if Allah has put you in the midst of people who are wealthy and arrogant or wealthy and humble, how do you adjust to that? And what do you do in a way that brings you closer to Allah? Some people are very poor. From among the poor, there are some who are arrogant, who feel that you are guilty of making them poor. And some feel that it's because of you, you haven't given me, that's why I remain poor. How are you going to deal with that mentality? It's Allah who created that mentality, but the person needs help and it's not easy to help. But you will have to adjust and you will have to make do depending on who they are to you and what interaction you would be having with them. From amongst us, there are those who perhaps are very, very physically fit and some who are weak. Do the physically fit start thinking that they can attack anyone, threaten anyone? Or sometimes they are humble, it's just that they happen to be that way. You will have to deal with those people because they are on earth with you at the same time. It's unfortunate or fortunate. It's part of your ticket to paradise to deal with them. From amongst us, there are those, many who are going through mental challenges. You don't know their upbringing, sometimes the trauma they may have faced as they were children, sometimes what happened to them that might have resulted in who they are today. But how are you going to deal with it? It's a challenge. It's part of your ticket to paradise. Who are they to you, number one? If they are someone close that you're going to have to deal with, then you are going to have to deal with it because that's part of your paradise. Don't become despondent. It's not the first person who has challenge and it's not going to be the last one, but it's your test while you're on earth. Similarly, if you're a person who has mental stress, it doesn't mean you're a madman or a madwoman. No, we all go through it. Different phases, different levels. Stress, anxiety, these are human qualities at times. But how do you deal with it? Don't feel too much of self-pity. Don't begin to doubt the whole world that everyone is actually an evil and bad person. Rely on Allah and try your best to help yourself. Get some professional assistance. Perhaps go for counseling and don't be in denial. If you're struggling, no problem. It's not wrong to go and get help. That is what would actually benefit you. So it depends. And this is why we say Allah placed you on earth with totally different people for a reason. In your own family, there will be different types of mentalities, understanding. Some people might not understand what exactly you have understood. Some might disagree with you. Is that disagreement really worth it or not? Sometimes we fight over which phone is better to the degree that we don't talk to each other for another year. Was it worth it? Throw both phones away and get along with each other. It's a minor, stupid, silly thing. If it is something very big, very meaningful, which is barely the case, then perhaps you might want to be a little bit more firm in whatever you're saying, depending on who you are, what authority you have, and so on. Otherwise, just be understanding of people, the different colors. Everyone's favorite is another. This morning, someone sent me a whole batch of sajjadas, different colors. And they say, which one would you like? We'd like to give you a gift. I saw so many colors. I said, you know what? If they're going to give it to me, I'm going to give it to someone else anyway. So what's the point? May Allah Almighty grant us ease. And I'm thinking, what beautiful colors. But I might like, for example, a beige or earth color. Other people might like a different color. I'm not going to war with them. I will love the fact that you love a different color from mine, because you know what? At least I can choose the one I like. Allahu Akbar. Look at the positive. So it's okay. Allah's created us differently. Some people, for example, they might have this understanding in them that they are the best and that's it and no one is like them. You know what? It's a sickness. It's actually a disease. But you will have to deal with that temperament. You are on earth. It's okay. Some people will doubt you. There are some Muslims who are intolerant of other Muslims just because they belong to a different sect perhaps. So intolerant that they treat them even worse than the kuffar, for example. Those are the colors we find on earth. Some are indoctrinated with some form of a doctrine that is really, really extreme. You will have to deal with it. You will have to try to help them, again, depending on who you are to them and depending on what you have in, to do with them. Whereas some people are so relaxed. Some might have developed a habit of addiction this way, that way. They might be, addicted to pornography or drugs or whatever else it may be. That is part of your test and their test. If they happen to be close to you, a family member, a child, a parent, a sibling, you will have to deal with it. You cannot cancel them completely simply because of a bad habit or an addiction. Are you going to help them? If you are going to help them, alhamdulillah. But to what degree? You will also need to be helped, because sometimes the pressure of dealing with something within your own home that might be very difficult would require you to also get some counseling. Hence, we are talking about it today. It's okay. You are not the first person. You won't be the last. Yours is not the only family that's going through struggles. For your information, I do not know of a single family on earth that doesn't have such struggles as I'm mentioning today. Not one. So come on, you're normal, you're human. You came on earth to be tested. That's what we believe. So these are the tests. The tests are, today you are seated next to someone. The person is different from you completely. They might be a different race. They might be a different nationality. That's your test and it's their test. Do you think you are superior? If you do, you need help, right? Do you think that you are closer to Allah just because of your color? If that's the case, you need help. And so on. Do you think you are closer to Allah because of your authority or your wealth or how good you look? Not at all. So how would we help such a person? We would have to talk about it in a beautiful, respectable manner to say, listen, we're on earth, we're all going to share this place because it doesn't belong to me or you, it belongs to Allah. Allah put me here, Allah put you here. You are here without having asked to come here. And guess what? All of us are also here without having asked to come here. Not a soul is on earth because they said, oh Allah, send me onto the earth. Come on. Not one. Are you on earth because you asked to come here? No. So when you go, you're also going to go without your choice. You can't say, oh Allah, no, don't take me. Just take these guys next door. It can't happen. May Allah Almighty grant us ease. If that was the case, and if we had those type of du'as, everyone would be praying the other one dies. Allah says, that's in my hands. Some people, they are violent by nature. Sometimes you have to stay away from such people. Again, if they are close to you, you might need to help them and it might not be easy. And some people are so soft in nature that they keep everything in, and that results in stress within them. It might result in impacting their health negatively because they're bottling everything. But that's their nature. Some people don't talk much. Some people don't interact much. It does not make them abnormal.
Avatar.
If you set something up, fooled around, didn't pull it off, put it on yourself and get around people who will help in this area. Hey, don't join an easy crowd. Go where the expectations are high, where the pressure to perform is high. It's how we grow. I'm certain that part of the reason why people let goal setting slide is because it is a lot of work.
I'm putting this out in the world
why. So with concussion, Dr. Bennett Omalu was deeply connected to tell the truth. And he said that truth doesn't have a side. And that's what he kept saying. I thought that was such a powerful idea. That there, you know, whose side are you on? Are you a Republican or a Democrat? I'm trying to tell the truth. The truth doesn't have a side.
We might be going through the chains of suffering, that as we go through our life, a picture of what we're facing, it kind of feels like chains. I think chains, they represent suffering in so many ways, because just think about it. It's like they're heavy, they're awkward. I mean, they're uncomfortable to be in chains. Like everywhere you go, you notice it. That's the reality.
Purpose. That was the word that kept coming to my mind when I said, my future is my focus. I kept thinking about preference and then purpose. You hit me with your best shot, but it didn't work. You tried to kill me. It didn't move me from my purpose. In fact, it was the exact thing that God used to bring me to this place where I could stand in my purpose and fulfill the promise.
Where do you go for strength? Because you have to have a source that anchors and stabilizes you so you can do that for others. You cannot give what you do not have. You just can't. The second thing that I want to do when I mentor a person during a crisis is I want to share with them what I'm experiencing, my emotions. I want to be raw with them, and that's why I want them beside me. See, if I teach them later, I may skip some of my negative emotion.
The law of attraction really does work. It's a very simple process. If you go in the house and you have a remote and you point that remote at the TV and you press the on switch, guess what you expect to happen? You expect the TV to come on. Well, guess what happens? The TV comes on. It's just because you pointed a remote at it and it sent a signal. And what the signal has to get a return.
When God opens a door, walk through it. But you got to have that attitude, I will not fear. What then shall we say in response to these things? If God is for us, who can be against us? Wow. If God is for us, who can be against us? And God is for us.
If information could change people, everybody would be skinny, rich, and happy. So when you speak, they're asking 3 questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? 90 minutes is a magic number. Everybody in the industry knows that. He's making a mockery of me, making fun of me. But I took it. I took it. See what you can do with that.
God sees you doing the right thing, not complaining, not holding a grudge, not giving up on life. The Pharaoh is going to call you in, so to speak. The right people are going to show up. Vindication is coming. It's going to happen quickly. It's not going to be years to restore what was lost. Suddenly, you're going to see vindication, restoration, promotion, honor, and influence.
Let me put this out there. Some of the most amazingly talented actors out here are not always beautiful. So if you think you got to be attractive to be successful as an actor, you got it all fucked up. And I don't even want to call no names, but y'all can go down a long list of people that are not visibly beautiful, but very brilliantly talented.
You need to take the time, create a vision ladder or a dream ladder. You need to ask this question: what do I need to do today in order to get where I want to be tomorrow? What do I need to do today in order to get where I want to be tomorrow? The problem why most people never reach their goals, they can't delay gratification.
What I realized in my life is that Goggins is who I love. Goggins is who I created. My dad created David Goggins. I created Goggins. So what's happening with me, and since Can't Hurt Me came out, and since I got on social media, which is why I don't like social media, which is why I'm not on there very much, which is why I give people one time, I have to do me.
The potential source of revealed truth in imagination, buttressed by all that cultural input. And so you would say, well, in some ways, that avatar with whom you can converse is now the internal embodiment of all the ideas about what constitutes the highest good that our entire culture has been able to create and communicate insofar as you've been exposed to that or are able to understand it.
You'll be constantly revising your lists of short-range and long-range goals, rearranging them, refining them, redesigning them, establishing different priorities, adding new goals, perhaps deleting others. It's interesting that so many people work hard on their jobs, but they don't work hard on their futures. They let that slide.
Rejection is everywhere. The idea of rejection is relative. I mean, if you take a kid in a small town and somebody posts something negative about them and all of their friends laugh, that's the worst rejection a human being can experience.
You still serve a God who shows up. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Anybody still believe that you serve a God who says, my arm is not too short to save you, my ear is not too deaf to hear from you? Anybody still believe in a God who's a miracle worker? Come on, somebody. He's a restorer. He's a redeemer. If you got chains, good news, he's a chain breaker!
Faith is a fight. It's a fight for focus. You're not fighting against people. You're not fighting against Reuben and Simeon and all. You're fighting for your focus. And it's the fight of your life. All of the pain that he went through. Never lost his focus. That's what you do when you aim, right? You gotta focus. You know how hard it is to focus when you got everything flying at you?
Can I tell you, for example, with the coronavirus? My first emotion to this was anger. I was just mad. And the reason I was angry is because I thought there's a lot of emotional people that are leading, and now the leaders are going to have to respond to a bunch of fearful people. Now, I'm not saying that's the right perspective. It certainly is an emotional perspective, and it was a negative with me because I was angry about it.
The man is as he thinking. So how you are, the energy that you project from your mind is what you get. And so that's why the law of attraction works that way. It's because whatever you project, that signal, that's the return has to come that way.
When you're gifted for something, if you trust God, it is not hard for you. I work hard, but what I do up here is not hard. It's easy because I'm gifted for it. But let me tell you, if I tried to lead worship, that would be hard.
Make yourself so good you can't be ignored. I used to call him and ask him to let me come and speak on the stage to give me a shot. And he said no, the owner. But after he had such an overwhelming demand from people going to these motivational events, we want to see that guy, Mamie Brown's baby boy. We want to see him.
You can't dwell on what they said, what they did. Sometimes they don't even know they're doing it. It's just how they were raised. It's just what they saw model growing up. It's easy to get offended, live bitter, upset. Let what was said keep him from doing what he knew God called him to do.
Out of sight, out of mind. No one will ever have you in mind for anything that you're trying to do, achieve, or accomplish if you're living in the middle of Egypt some damn where. Nothing wrong with Egypt. I was going to say something else. Anyway, you live in the middle of nowhere. Your friends and your family can't find you, let alone a director and a producer, a writer, an executive. You are beautiful. You are talented.
I have to do what I want to do right now. It's what I feel like doing. And people who are successful do what they don't feel like doing today so they can enjoy what they really want to feel like tomorrow. And so what do I need to do today that I can work on? That's what a wise person does. They think through the steps. They think through their life.
I am who I am. So now what they see is this guy who's trying to get people to get off their fucking ass. Mm-hmm. That just happened to happen, man. Mm-hmm. I didn't set out. When I set out to be a fucking CEO and set out to go to Ranger School and all this other stuff I did and break records, I didn't set out to fucking please. Right. I didn't set out to say, hey, pay me now. I got a great story. Mm-hmm. That.
Is there anything real about the hypothetical ideal? And it seems to me that there is something real about the hypothetical ideal. We recognize its manifestation in other people, and we're happy about that. We're We're inspired by that. We might be in awe of that. We certainly recognize it as a good thing. We're pleased when that manifests itself in us. Its manifestation in us certainly makes us more attractive to other people.
Some people live such mediocre lives that at the end of the day, they don't know whether they're winning or losing. They just go through life with their fingers crossed. I know most people don't make definite plans, but don't let that be you. The guy says, well, you work where I work, but the time you get home, it's late. You've got to have a bite to eat, watch a little TV, and get to bed. You can't sit up half of the night and plan. And this is the guy who's behind on his car note.
Keeping distance was how you maintained star power. And in the last 5 years, that shifted much more to a friendship model. Like people support artists that they feel like they know thoroughly, that they're friends, right? So that the social media, the daily interaction is much more like a family friendship kind of interaction that is an audience demand.
Chains can break my joy, or my joy can break my chains. I'm not going to let my chains break my joy, but rather my joy is going to break my chains. Come on, somebody. You're going to get some joy today that's going to break some chains in your life. I want to remind you that you still serve a God who breaks chains.
Lord, even today that you have the final say. I speak healing, wholeness, life, victory, vitality, state being renovated in Jesus' name. In third times, those that have gone from presence right now, Lord, I thank you that you are comforting them the end that you get it for you. Get in, don't let it get in, deal with it, acknowledge it, notice it, but do not let it define you. Whatever it is, let God work it in, let God work it in. Deed of heart may happen, for I have said it. Take care of me, and that why I am not well. I don't need you now. I am in the difference between needing some things, the desires of your heart. You have some things. God is not even looking for people that are qualified. He is looking God to do is say, God, here you want to with me. I say to myself, what I am going to accomplish, that's here what I am going to earn today, and I will accomplish something. The people closest to you will respect, say things that are hurtful is simply given it do good, because you start you finish, you got to grind, and hastily you going to even doubt is going to kick in. A prudent man gives thought to his steps. Were talking about I had to work you up to realize there's a human. Some people run fastest. Mentality is mentality. I am going to catch up somewhere, but what will the best possible things, or what will some to the best possible things do you formulate answer? We grow from two experience. One is the paints glossing painful. Put in on yourself anytime I put some things connecting to an idea. You are in real suffering can be in growth. Get right.